Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Haley, Captain Haley. That's my new name on this channel just because like I'm flying planes and everybody else's name is Pilot something or Fly with something. So I decided to be different. But anyway, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and that like button for the YouTube algorithm. So this video is going to be basically about the whole process if you are getting your private pilot license or if you're just curious about being a pilot in general. But getting my private pilot license was not easy. The way I got into it was because I was basically skydiving, and that's how I decided. Well, I actually decided before that I always wanted to be a pilot, but I never knew the actual process. Now what sparked it even more is not just getting into skydiving, but it's actually before that. I was in sales. I was sold cars for Lexus, and I came across two pilots and also about three flight attendants, and they all looked so happy and fulfilled like with their job. And I didn't go into this necessarily for a job. The way they talked about it just made me really want to become a pilot. Anything having to do with traveling, that's something that really interests me totally and completely. Whether I'm flying or not, like I just want to go to different places. So my channel overall is about my interests, traveling. You can watch my other videos and you'll get a feel for my journey, and I'm just excited for growth. That's why I want to be a pilot, is because it just intrigued me. I don't know where it's gonna take me. It's really hard to even say that I want to be a actual commercial pilot. I want to be able to travel on YouTube and be like, what's his name? Trent Parker. I don't know his name, but his videos are really cool. And I see all these other guys, and mostly guys, just doing this. So I was like, I'm gonna be the girl version of that channel. What I expected becoming a pilot would be like is more so along the lines of, oh, I'm just flying around learning these cool maneuvers. Like I thought it was just like that front part, but I didn't look at the back side of it, which is the studying aspect. I didn't realize I would have to learn as much as I did throughout this entire process. And I know the very basics of this, which is mind-blowing to me because it's so much. That's just all I can say about it, is there's just so much to learn. So not only do you have to learn, how to fly the airplane itself, which is a challenge, but what's more of a challenge is the groundwork portion. And I did the groundwork portion. Why I did this, I don't know. I thought it would be faster. I thought it was like a better way of doing things, but I did the ground portion a good 6 months into flying, like while learning how to fly. I didn't take my actual knowledge test until I was about to cross country. So that's kind of a long time. I felt like I could have gotten it a lot faster. I could have gotten down my knowledge of flying a lot faster had I studied harder. But I give myself credit though, because I have never studied like that in my life. Getting this license has kicked my ass so hard. I'm kind of mind blown that I actually got through it, and in less than a year. So I finished it in about 11 months, give or take. It would have been 10 months because I had to wait 3 weeks for my check ride to have my check ride. I have to thank my instructors and also Mr. Weaver. He's amazing. He actually teaches at the high school, but he was helping me out, and I mean, just showing me the way. But really, you have to teach yourself. I mean, just so much studying. It's crazy. It's a crazy amount of studying. I'll get my books. I mean, it's not even a lot of books. It's just a lot to retain, and you have to know absolutely everything. I mean, it's engineering. You have to know it, otherwise there's just always one thing you could miss that could be catastrophic, which is it's a little nerve-wracking. But you get it down because you have to, because you're really, really motivated to finish. If you're extremely motivated to finish like I was, then you're definitely gonna get it down. I have so much respect now for pilots. So much work, so much work. I thought it was gonna be all rainbows and sunshine and fun. Also, it was extremely hard. There are times where I've cried. There are times that I've like had to just like stop what I was doing and like say, okay, because I'm a person I've never been taught any of this before. I didn't know anything coming into this world of aviation. So it was extremely challenging for me. I got through it, I learned it, I understand it now, and I'm still learning. A good pilot is always learning. I got drilled into my head. You're always learning. And what I would say to my past self looking back, I would say get better at just enjoying the process of learning rather than getting frustrated. Making the whole process more fun, taking a deep breath. This year's been crazy on top of that. Basically, you're studying times 1,000, especially if you're in a time frame. It's really hard to put yourself in a time frame with getting your private pilot license because you're a VFR pilot, visual flight rules. You have weather that you need to look out for. The plane might need maintenance that day. You might feel sick or something comes up to where you have to cancel, but it's mainly the weather. Weather is going to be a huge indicator as to why you have to cancel all the time or majority of the time. The plane needs maintenance every week or every other week. It's going to need some type of maintenance, and it might fall on a day where it's your day to fly, which is really annoying, or the plane is booked for the next couple weeks and you thought you were going to be finished, but you're not. And then next thing you know, 2 weeks go by and you're unable to fly and you lose your touch with it. Yeah, that's the process. I'm really happy. I'm really proud of myself. So the check ride. What I really stressed out about, and everybody stresses out about this, the check ride. I don't think I've ever been more stressed out about any type of test in general. I've never been that stressed out over a test in my life. So the check ride. The check ride consists of 2 portions of the test, the oral portion and then the flying portion. The oral portion kind of messes up the flying portion unless you reschedule. But even with the flying portion, you're not going to fly as good as you normally do with the DPE sitting next to you, and that's 100% true. Because here I thought I was just going to be like, ooh, perfect, like just like on my check ride prep. I didn't fly nearly as well as I did. My instructor even told me that, you know, it would be like that because you would have tiny mess ups where you usually would not mess up at. So like that happens, okay? I'm not gonna go into specifics on my check ride, but I will say that I did trip on my first day. My check ride ended up having to be like 2 days, but luckily those days were within the same week, so I didn't have to go a long period of time without finishing my check ride. So I finished the oral portion and then had to reschedule to get my flying portion out of the way because of weather. I was just so nervous. Getting through that entire check ride was like a complete blur. Basically the oral portion is up to 4 hours, but mine lasted about 2.5 to 3 hours of him questioning me on my knowledge, and it could be about anything, okay? It's not like I go in knowing what he's gonna ask me. No. There are scenario-based questions, but it's just so completely different from what you study. You just have to overall understand having to do with the engine, with the electric, not just why you use it, but like how it actually functions. Different scenarios that go along with that. And also just knowing rules and regulations to the T in the fullest detail, I might add. No exaggeration whatsoever. Hardest thing ever about the test was the oral portion. It's the most nerve-wracking. I think I was having jitters like after just because I was so drained. So I was really happy that it was over and I discontinued the check ride, which means that I'm scheduling the flight portion for a different day due to weather or what have you. My DPE was extremely nice to me. He was just like, he was wonderful. I'm definitely gonna have him for my instrument rating and air, just like everything else. Every other rating that I get, because I felt really comfortable, surprisingly comfortable with him, but still like just the whole process was nerve-wracking, but he was great. Like I said, I've just never been that nervous before. But I was so nervous to where I actually tripped up the stairs coming back from the plane because we weren't gonna fly that day. I tripped. I don't do that. I mean, I might be like slightly clumsy, but I almost face planted on the floor. Like, that was traumatic. Finally, the flight portion came and everything was great. We did a couple legs of my cross country. That was smooth. He was really impressed with that. I didn't use a GPS at all. I had my map and I had to calculate it. So this is my binder that I took with me on my check ride. Super organized, as you can see. I don't want my personal information, but here's my passport. I have my student license, my medical, and then my test results. So this was my binder, you know, I used for a flight, so I have it all organized here and labeled like so. So super organized. He was really impressed with that. And my DPE, he's like the head pilot. He makes their schedules. He was a pilot for the Air Force and now he's like head of a lot of things, and then he's fixing to retire. So that's kind of a big deal to me to pass a check ride done by him. This was my planning that I had to do. So that's basically one page of what it looks like to plan. I have to get the radio frequencies, I have to get like the runways, the weather, I have to calculate for wind, east and west variation, magnetic deviation, the wind, and then what altitude I'm gonna be flying at, when I'm gonna be descending, and then these are like my little checkpoints and waypoints and all of that. And then like I think I had like 4 pages to fill out of that, and then of course a weather log. Then I had to print out the actual airports. Some of them will have airport diagrams like this that already have the frequencies on it, which is super helpful, and it gives you like a little map of that. And then of course you have your map of where you're gonna go. Yeah, no GPS. So this was like huge accomplishment for me. This is my course, my routes. Eventually I'm going to be really good enough to fly pretty much anywhere. But yeah, every 6 months or so you have to update your sectional because they expire. So it's just so many little things. But anyway, that's like my experience with getting my check ride done. If you have questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll make sure to include them in my next video. So go ahead and subscribe, stick around, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!